Hello and welcome to What the Fuck Am I Reading? So since we last spoke, I've actually finished 5 books. Yes, 5 books, and all of them are from my TBR. I am so proud of myself. You cannot even imagine. And both of the ones that I'm currently reading are also from my TBR. Insane, I know. So, as I told you last time, I was reading Soulkeeper by David Dalglish. It's so hard for me for some reason. But last time I checked in, I told you that I was loving it, that it was giving me Witcher vibes. And I do have to say, I might have been a bit enthusiastic back then, but I still ended up really loving this. Basically, this one, you start following Devin, and he's a Soulkeeper. He's kind of, let's just say, like a priest, some kind, and he's sent to this village, and then something attacked this village. It's kind of a black goo that transforms everything, brings people back to life, like kind of ghoulish. There's also this thing, magic is coming back, and also monsters are coming back. So he's kind of thrown into hunting them, especially this guy who thinks he's behind it. And I actually loved the beginning, but there's a part in the book, it's around the middle, where he stops like moving around and he's just stuck in the city. And for some reason, the fact that it's just, the plot was just there, I don't know, but it made me not enjoy it as much, even though I still really liked it. Overall, I really like Devin. I also really like his sister. She's the other POV that we'd get a little bit towards 2/3 of the book, mostly, but she is actually like a really cool character. Her story was also really good. So yeah, she was a great addition, though I do have to say that Devin's story I was more invested in. And you know, I liked that second part well enough, but I didn't love it as much as I loved the beginning. The beginning had like, not horror elements, it was like scarier, a little bit more grimy. I don't know, it had something. It has something. So I think it lost a bit of its charm along the way, but it's still super solid. I still really like it. I will be ordering book 2 super soon because I really want to continue the series, especially after the ending. Really like the ending. Oh, there's also like a bit of a punch to the gut at the end, and damn, I was not ready for it, but I really liked it. I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. I still really liked it, even though I'm a bit disappointed because I thought it was going to be a favorite, but still, it was super good. So I will definitely highly recommend that you check out this series. Amazing. I actually really like it. If you're looking for like hunting down monsters, figuring out the world, it gave me like a bit of a Witcher vibe. The video game, Witcher, not the books, definitely not the books, but I don't know, it has something. I'm very excited to continue, and now I'm more excited to read like his new releases. Then I decided to continue with A Declaration of the Rights of a Magician by H.G. Perry, which is a historical fantasy, kind of an alternative story type of book, and it actually surprised me for good. Like, I actually really liked it. I do have to say that I was expecting for a little bit more magical elements, but the magic is definitely present. We are going to be set on France and on England. We're basically going to follow like the revolution in France and how it's going to affect England. But the thing is, the revolution is actually for magicians, because the thing is, in this world, only like novelty is allowed to use their powers, and poor people are basically just like, you cannot even use it, even if it's to save your own life, you're screwed. So they're basically in different countries debating if the commoners should be allowed to use the powers or not. And there's a lot going on. If you like more political driven books, definitely this one, even though I prefer when it is like a complete fantasy setting and not like historical fiction, but definitely good. I really like the story of the Prime Minister. I just really liked it in general. It was my favorite thing to follow. Robespierre was a bit of an ass in this one, but it's definitely still interesting, though. There's also the theme of slavery treated here, because they are trying to free the slaves too, so they can also use their magic, because apparently in the plantations they have them like subdued so they can be just like mindless pieces of machinery working around. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on. I really liked it. I definitely recommend it. I ended up giving it again 4 out of 5 stars. I will definitely be reading the sequel, and I'm super excited for the sequel of both of these books. Then I decided to read something a little bit lighter after those chunkers, because they might not seem like it, but they're fucking big. So I read The Loop by Ben Oliver. Yeah, and hear me out. This reminded me so much to the Maze Runner. The Maze Runner mixed with something. What was the other book? In Metro 2033. Yeah, that was what I'm looking for. What was I looking for? I liked it, but it didn't blow me away. Like, we're going to follow, what was his name? Luca. We're going to follow Luca. He is in prison in the Loop. Basically, it's just like a prison and you can never leave, basically. You get stuck with these trials, and then you're condemned just to more time in the Loop. It's a mess, but the thing is, something happens and there's this virus going on. Literally, if you have seen or read The Maze Runner, so similar. So similar. Literally, I could only picture fucking, oh my god. I was going to say Styles, the actor, damn it. But I can only picture him as the main character, just like Thomas. But it was definitely an enjoyable read. The thing is, this is actually a trilogy. I don't really think I'll be continuing it. It was enjoyable for sure, but really nothing else. Like, I ended up giving like 3 out of 5 stars. It's fine, enjoyable, entertaining. I read it in 1 day, I believe, 1 or 2 at most. Super easy to read, but nothing like mind-blowing here. So for now, it's just okay. Then I read one of my most anticipated books of the year, In the Shadow of Lightning by Brian McClellan. This is his new book after The Powder Mage and The Sins of Empire. Oh man, this was a ride. So first things first, if you like any of those trilogies, you're going to love this, because the vibe is just the fucking same. If you were reading this and you had no clue who the author was, the first thing you will think of is Brian McClellan. 100%. Like, the vibe is just so spot on. Like, it felt like this could be set on that universe and it will be fine, because we also have a war. We have our kind of investigator. She's definitely not an investigator per se, but she's figuring things out. Like, it's not like our character in Promise of Blood, like he's actually a detective. No, she's investigating a murder and who is behind it. Meanwhile, the son of this lady that was killed is actually leading the war efforts to resist the attack of this other empire. It's just so much going on. You have like feuds between families. Let me tell you something. 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 Wait. It was for me like a mix of Jade City with the feuds in these noble families and Promise of Blood. What a book, dude. What a book. I actually loved the prologue. Like, I thought it was so engaging. I was invested immediately. I honestly just thinking about reading it again, even though I just finished it like 3 days ago. I kind of want to reread Promise of Blood too. It was so good, man. So good. So many things. So many everything. Like, definitely one of my favorites of this year. It feels more industrial. The magic is related to glass. The magic is also dying because there's no glass left. So much going on. I loved it. I ended up giving it 4.5 though, because some things I think could have been done better, but it was still so good though. Like, I just really like it. If you're hesitating on picking this one up, just don't. Read it. It's just as good as promised. I'm so excited. I cannot wait for book 2. I just need it. I do think I'll be reading The Promise of Blood next month though. And the last book that I read, I finished it yesterday, was Far From the Light of Heaven by Tara Thompson. This is the same author as Rosewater, which I read a couple of years ago and was very weird about it. But this is a space opera and it has several elements of like mystery sci-fi and horror sci-fi, which I wasn't expecting, but it's actually great. So you basically start following this ship. The leader of this kind of expedition wakes up and she discovers that someone has been murdering some passengers. So she sends a distress call and they send someone to investigate, and then we go from there. There's a lot of like politics, background story. Like, I think this would have been better if it was just focused on the horror elements, but I think combined it made like for a pretty good book. I do see why it got so many like mixed reviews, because I mean, I think it's the author. It's the way the author has to write things. It's very confusing. So I don't know, probably because of that it was just like so mixed. But I actually kind of liked it in general. I ended up giving like 4 out of 5 stars. The thing is, I do have to say that towards like, I don't know, I had like 1 hour left to the audiobook, and then we saw kind of the side of the killer. I wasn't really convinced with him, though I liked it. I was just like, not completely sold on it. I just much prefer the part of investigating everything that was going on, but that's personal preference. Nothing bad there, but I don't know, I actually quite enjoyed it. I'm very surprised because I was a bit mad with the author in general after reading Rosewater. Like, that was so weird, but I will definitely keep checking their books out. I'm more than glad that I actually really like this, and I also got this for Christmas, so I'm super excited that I finally read it almost a year later. Great. But yeah, if you're thinking about reading this one out, definitely check it out. I do have to say it's still very weird and you might not love it, but definitely give it a try. So I'm actually currently reading still the first binding. I dropped the physical version and I'm listening to it as an audiobook, but I do have to say that I don't think I'm enjoying it. 60% in, I believe. I'll tell you more about it next week, but I don't think it's working out for me. It just reminds me too much of The Name of the Wind. I do hope that it changes towards the end, but it's just not making it for me. So I don't know. I'm also physically reading the Voidwalker collection. It's a novella, so I'm basically reading 1 novella a day. It's been pretty interesting, though I have to say that I found some things that I'm a bit about, but I'll tell you more about those books next week. So have you been reading any books? Have you finished any books this week? Have you started any books? Please just let me know down in the comments below, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye.